What is up, awesome peeps? Brent McCluskey here with Electrified Reviews, and today we are reviewing the Wagons CrossTour fat tire electric bike. This thing is a masterpiece of electric bike. This frame, this setup, or something very similar to it, is actually a Guinness Book of World Record award-winning electric bike for most distance traveled in 24 hours by a single rider. It's pretty impressive stuff. We're gonna dive into the specs on this electric bike right here, and we're also going to announce the giveaway results from the Unirau electric bike giveaway. But first, let's roll the B-roll. All right, awesome peeps. Again, this is the Wagons CrossTour fat tire electric bike. This thing is just, honestly, it's just an incredible electric bike. It is so much fun to ride. It is a very finely crafted machine right here. Before we dive into this, I know one of the main reasons a lot of you guys tuned in is for the results from the Unirau giveaway. So we'll go ahead and announce the winner right up front here. That's gonna be the winner for the Unirau electric bike giveaway is Lunthrum Limbs, and they won by tagging 2 friends on Instagram. So congratulations, Lunthrum, you won the Unirau electric bike. We'll shoot you an email, get you sorted out. If you didn't win, don't sweat it. We'll have more giveaways coming up soon. Thank you guys who did enter. Really appreciate that. It was very cool to be able to host that giveaway. So back to this bike. Again, the Wagons CrossTour. Now, this company does some cool stuff. First of all, I want to talk about the frame sizes on this bike because, well, first of all, the price of this is going to be $7,299 USD, or we'll just call it $7,300 is the starting price of this bike. It is a very expensive electric bike, but it's a very high-end e-bike, and so we expect a lot out of this bike for that price point. This is the most expensive bike we have tested or reviewed to date, so we expect a lot, and this thing does deliver. So starting with the frame, this thing is going to be a titanium frame, about 68 pounds, and it has a load capacity of 350 pounds. Honestly, you could probably load quite a bit more on this thing, but the recommended max weight is 350, but you could load more if you wanted to. Now, what's cool about the frames here is they offer, I think it's 5 total frame sizes: small, medium, large, extra large, and the custom frame size, which is not something we have seen before except with Wagons. So like for me, I have kind of a shorter end seam but a longer reach. So if I wanted like a custom geometry on this frame, Wagons could do that for me. So I really do dig that. Now when it comes to shipping, the beautiful thing about this, well, they do have a shipping fee of $300 for anywhere in the US, and then they do ship internationally. Pricing on that, it's just gonna depend on which country you're in, how you want it shipped, stuff like that. You'll have to kind of calculate it when you get to that point. But when the bike does get delivered to you, it is fully assembled, 100% assembled. Both tires are on, handlebars are on. All you have to do once this thing gets out of the box is just twist the handlebars. They're kind of parallel to the bike. You just got to twist them into place, tighten it down, and you're ready to go. Also, it's a small detail, but the way the box opens is kind of like a donut box. Like you can fold it, you can lay it down its side, and the whole top part just lifts up. And it makes it really easy to get this bike out of the box. So from the time that you have this thing delivered to the time you can actually go out riding, get on the trails, is seriously probably 3 minutes, maybe even less, depending how quick you are to cutting the tape in the box. So very cool stuff. One last thing I want to talk about with this company is the it's like a parts upgrade program that they have. So look, again, this thing costs $7,300, and the good thing about Wagons is they're constantly upgrading and changing their designs because the guys who create these bikes actually ride them all day long. So they change stuff, and that's cool, but if I bought this bike today and then tomorrow they're like, you know what, we're gonna change out the the rotors to a different style of rotors. We've decided that we can get 10% more stopping power. And it's like, wait a minute, man, I just bought this thing and now you've already changed it. I spent $7,300 and now it's like, there's already an upgrade. And that can be really frustrating. So with this upgrade program that they have, I think it's like $10 a year, something that's like really, really small amount of money. But what it does is it gives you access to all their components when they come in, the new components, and they give them to you at a seriously discounted price. So like if we'll go back to the rotor there, they're like, oh, we have a new rotor, normally it costs $50, we'll give it to you for, significantly less, like whatever. So that is very, very cool. Again, not something we have seen before, but I like that because it gives you a really good feeling of safety and security when you do buy this thing. Not to mention it does have a 2-year comprehensive warranty as well, which is really, really nice. All right, diving into the specs on this, let's start back here right in the middle with this beautiful, beautiful Bafang 1000 nominal watts, 1600 peak watt power motor, 160 newton meters of torque. This motor is an absolute beast. It's a monster of a motor. These things are just they're so flexible in what you can ask out of these motors. So the 1600 peak watts of this motor, typically peak wattage, you can only run at peak watts for like, I don't know, 60 seconds, a couple minutes, something like that. With this motor, you can run at 1600 watts, the peak wattage, for like an hour before it starts to, before it wants to kick back down to 1000 watts. So really, this thing is more of like a 1500 watt, 1600 watt motor, not 1000 watt. It's very, very powerful. And what's cool about mid-drive motors is it's able to leverage, number one, look at the positioning of this motor. It's right in the middle of the bike, very low near the ground. The center of gravity is very low. It's well balanced, so that's beautiful. It makes it easier to ride and keeps the bike nice and just feeling like it's supposed to feel. But also, because this motor is in the middle here, it's connected to this roll-off speed hub right here, which is beautiful, 14-gear roll-off speed hub in the back. And it's able to leverage the gearing just like a car would. So you know how a car has like one motor, right? It's got just the same motor, like whatever motor is in the car. But when the car is in first gear, that motor feels a lot more peppy, but it can only go like, 25 miles an hour or whatever. And then you want to get up to like, top speed of the freeway, you got to put it in the top gear. Same thing with mid-drive setups. It's able to leverage the gearing, so it makes the motor actually more powerful compared to a hub drive motor. Also, good thing about mid-drives is they are suspended weight, which means, the suspension here in the front and the frame and the tires are going to help absorb some of the shocks and stuff from the ride. And that's going to help to increase the longevity of the motor, again, compared to a hub motor, which is in the back wheel here, or sometimes in the front wheel. And the reality is they absorb a lot of, they take a beating, from the ride, because all that energy gets placed right into the back motor there. Yeah, so paired with this, okay, so with this motor, this 1000 nominal watt here, that gets this bike up to a top speed. Look, the company says the top speed is 28 miles per hour, but it's pretty easy to get this thing up to 35 miles an hour. And if you really are like a strong rider, if you're on flat ground, especially if you're going downhill, this motor does not wind out until like around 40, 50 miles an hour. You can really get moving on this bike. So look, this is going to be, realistically, this is a class 4 electric bike right here. It's unregulated. It's not going to be legal to ride in all areas. And we want to suggest caution with this. Like, definitely wear a helmet. Yeah, maybe even some protective gear, maybe even a full face helmet, depending on how you're riding, because this thing is fast. It is powerful. But one thing you'll notice about this, there's no throttle up here. So this is a pedal assist only electric bike. Torque sensing pedal assist, that's wonderful. It measures the torque placed on the cranks compared to the rotation of the cranks, like a cadence sensor. And so the torque sensor, there's no latency, or very, very little latency, from the time that I start and stop pedaling to the time the motor actually activates and deactivates. So it's a very responsive feel. It really makes it feel like the bike is enhancing the ride, making you a more powerful rider, as opposed to a cadence sensor, which is kind of like a 100% on, 100% off, and there's kind of a lag. It just feels like the bike is like pulling you as opposed to working with you, if that makes sense. But there's no throttle on this bike because it has a Gates carbon belt drive, which is a beautiful system here. It's very quiet, very clean, very smooth. Virtually no maintenance on this, and it's just a beautiful setup. However, because this thing is so powerful, this motor, the 160 newton meters of torque, you can actually just tear this this carbon belt here to shreds if you have a throttle and unleash that power all at once. So they don't have a throttle stock on this, but if you want to, if you ask them for a throttle, they'll put it on. These guys do a lot of customization. So yeah, if you're like, hey, like I know how to control it, like I know what I'm doing, I want a throttle, okay, fine, like they'll do it. However, they also have a kind of like a slightly toned down version of this bike. It's a 750 watt version motor. And then on that one, they have a throttle too. So just something to keep in mind. Also, starting here in a couple months, they're actually gonna offer a 3,000 watt motor as well, which is just gonna be like an insane amount of power. I'm very excited. We're gonna be testing that one here coming up soon. So that's gonna be pretty exciting stuff. I wanna go back to this roll-off speed hub really quick, just because this thing is just so sweet. It is a very cool piece of gear here. All the gears are located right there in this little hub right there in the back. 14 gears, and it switches so smoothly. There's no need for, what is it called? Shift detection, you know, because of how it's set up with the mid drive. And it is really fun to ride. Let me show you the shifter here. It's kind of like the old school like grip shift. You know, that's how the shifter is right there. It feels great. Yeah. All right, now, so for the electrical system here, this bike has a 52 volt, 17.6 amp hour battery for a max range of, you know, about 50 miles or so, depending on how you ride it. Look, like I always say with range, the max range is just an estimate. It really is going to depend on how you ride this thing, how much you weigh, what kind of terrain you're going on. Is it flatter ground like this? Are you going to be climbing a bunch of hills? Are you going through mud? Or are you going on hard, you know, asphalt where it's easier to ride? It always just kind of depends, but it's about 50 miles or so. But what's cool about this, if you want to, is you can add an extra battery, boom, right up there on top, another 17.6 amp hour battery, and it plugs right into this system. It's a plug and play design, and then you're just ready to go. Then you just doubled your range right there. So that is an extra $900 though. For I think it's $900 for the battery. So it's pretty expensive, but if you are really going out, like if you're a cross tour fanatic, or you're like a deep backwoods person, you just want to like really tear up the trails, really get really far out there, like a bike packing adventure or something, you know, that extra battery might really come in handy. Also, this battery is locking and removable, so of course I can take it off, charge it separately. I would expect nothing less. Also, good positioning here for the battery on the down tube, keeps the weight as low as possible. If you do get that second battery, just remember it is going to be on the top tube. That's where they put the second battery, so it is a little bit higher for center of gravity. You know, it raises the standover height, might make it a little bit more difficult to ride, but you know, kind of cost and benefit type of thing there. For the suspension on the CrossTour, we've got Manitou Mastoon air suspension with 150 millimeters of travel. These are a great set of suspension right here. Very smooth, and of course you can air it up or you can air it down just like a tire, and you can increase the stiffness or you can loosen up the suspension depending on your ride style, your weight, and kind of what kind of terrain you're tackling. The tires on this are honestly just awesome. These are big old 4-inch fat tires, which are amazing. We've been seeing so many fat tire bikes lately, and there's a reason for that. The reason is fat tires they're great, especially when you have a powerful motor, because one of the biggest downsides of fat tires is that big 4-inch. It's a huge patch that's rolling against the ground. It creates a lot of rolling resistance, and it makes it more difficult for the motor to get this thing going. So it's nice to have that very powerful 1,000 watt nominal, 1,600 watt peak, and if you had the 3,000 watt, it would be even more crazy. But yeah, so it's nice to have that. Now, the positive or the great things about fat tire bikes is, first of all, they have a lot of air volume, so it makes the ride even more kind of plush, like it acts as like a suspension in and of itself, the tires do, because, you know, when you go over a bump, the air compresses and it softens everything up for you a little bit. Also, while that big tire patch does create a lot of rolling resistance, it does make it easier to float over bad terrain like mud, sand, snow, dirt, gravel, anything that's loose and kind of like most bikes would sink into. Fat tires, man, especially these fat tires, they float right over them. So it's really cool stuff. Also, you'll see here, this thing does have a through axle, which is fantastic. So it makes this even more of a stout bike. Now, for braking, this is just yet another area where, you know, we're really impressed with what they've picked out for components here in this bike. The CrossTour is going to have Dominion A4 quad piston hydraulic disc brakes here with 203mm rotors in the front and the rear. So the stopping power on this is just absolutely phenomenal. That's what the actual brake levers look like right here. Really clean. Also, this one has kind of better wire management, in my opinion, than the Ultimate Commuter Pro that we reviewed. Just, you know, they're kind of more, they're wrapped a little bit. They could do even a better job, I think, with the wire management, but, you know, whatever, it's not a big deal. You'll notice that the wiring here also on this bike, we talked about this on the CrossTour as well, but the wiring, a lot of it is external, and the reason for that is it's just easier to work on stuff. If you need to adjust something, replace something, whatever, it just makes it easier. But if you want to internally route all the wires, you can do that. There's bosses in the frame here. You can just internally route it if you want to. So that is, again, that is an option. This is very customizable. Again, you can do pretty much whatever you want to. Some small details, the fenders. There's a lot of attachment points for the fenders. They don't rattle. They're nice. They came installed from the factory, so I didn't have to put these on. Sometimes installing fenders is just a pain to get them centered and everything. There's a rear fender. There is a rear rack on this, and that came fully installed as well. Did not have to put that together. Nice, nice mounting system there. It's all good to go. And you know, having a rear rack just increases the functionality of this bike. So if I wanted to, I could throw some bags on there. And again, for bike packing or taking this on really long trips, you're going to want a way to stow extra cargo. This also does have a integrated front headlight. I think it's like 1,000 lumens or something like that. It's a pretty powerful front headlight right here. But it also, and that's integrated into the electrical system. So it draws power from that 52 volt, 17.6 amp hour battery. They also have, that comes with this bike, an external battery or an external flashlight. That's, I think, 2,000 watts. So I think in total it's 2,800 lumens coming out of for the light here. It's a lot of light. And that is what you want for a bike that goes this fast. You need a lot of light to actually see in the dark, not just increase your visibility, but to illuminate the trail, and this bike does it well. It does also have a tail light right here, and what's cool is whenever you hit the brake levers, this light will actually get brighter, you know, just like a car tail light when you hit the brakes. Lets people know, hey, I'm slowing down, I'm coming to a stop, please don't rear end me if you're close, you know. Nice little safety feature there. The handlebars themselves, honestly, are just kind of like a thing of beauty, in my opinion. There's so much room on these handlebars to put accessories on it if you want to. That extra light, like we're talking about, boom, you throw it right there. You have like an independent GPS that you want, boom, throw it there. You have your phone, you want to have that, throw it right there. There's just tons of room. Got these nice grips on the end, you know, so you can hang on to those if you're doing like a big hill climb. Ergonomic grips right here. Really comfy stuff here. And as you guys can probably see, like I was saying, like in our opinion, this is really just about perfect. There's almost nothing we would change on this bike, and we would love to hear from you guys, like what should Wagons do different, or what are they doing right in your opinion, you know, as you're listening to this review and you're seeing this bike kind of up close. Like, tell us what you guys think. Speaking of, you know, the small details, even like this bell is like silly as it is, as silly as it sounds, like this bell is like super nice. Like listen to the tone of this. Wait. Yeah, it's just a really nice bell. Kind of a weird thing to point out, but you know. Okay, so for the electrical system on this, we're gonna have a Bafang display with an independent button pad right here. Long press the power button to turn it on. See, it comes to life. Boom. You'll see I think it's the current time right here, how much volts is left, or 52.9 volts, and then you got a battery indicator right there, like a phone battery type thing. Current speed, tripometer, different modes. If you want to put this, so there's eco mode, but you can also put it into sport mode by pressing up or holding up on the plus button. You'll see it turns red, and that's sport mode. It's a lot more powerful, but if you're trying to conserve energy, you want to go farther, you want to keep it in eco mode. It's got 0 all the way up to 5 for the pedal assist modes. You can press info and it'll go to odometer, max speed, average speed, range, calories burned, time ridden, and then back to tripometer. So the display we like this display. This is the display that pairs with the Bafang motors here, and it's a good display. You can see it easily in the daytime. You know, direct sunlight, it's not an issue to see this thing at all. So yeah, good display, dig that. All right, awesome peeps. I think that's pretty much it here for the review portion of the Wagons CrossTour fat tire electric bike. I think now it's time to take this beautiful thing for a test ride. Look at that, it's just a beautiful day, man. Everything's so green here in California right now. I'm digging it. All right, so we're gonna take this bike for a test ride. Here we go. All right, awesome peeps, that is pretty much it for the review of the Wagons CrossTour fat tire electric bike. Again, this thing is just, honestly, it is just an incredible piece of machinery. This thing is just built like a tank from the bottom to the top. Everything is so well thought out, like we talked about. Some of the huge selling points, in my opinion, on this bike, again, are gonna be the titanium frame, the huge 52-volt system with a 17.4 amp hour battery, these beautiful fat tires, the Dominion A4 quad piston, 203 millimeter brakes, just amazing, amazing brakes. Great suspension, got the seat post suspension as well, the nice handlebars, the roll-offs speed hub right here for the easy, quick changing of gears, 14 gears, the carbon gates belt drive. This bike really has, I mean, just about absolutely everything that we would want in an electric bike. If we were to build an electric bike for you guys from the ground up, this is pretty much what we would do. This is very close to how we would build an electric bike after all the experience we have gathered from reviewing all the different electric bikes over the years. So yeah, again, honestly, this is just a really good piece of gear here. Now, this is going to excel for people who are probably into bike packing, cross tour stuff, or just going really deep into the woods, into unexplored trails. Just because of those fat tires, this bike is going to get you to places that most electric bikes just can't go, especially because of the all the components we talked about. This thing is, it's really geared for going deep into the trails. The suspension is very capable. This bike is a very capable bike. It's very flexible. You can do just about anything with it though. Like if you're not into cross tour stuff, if you just want to drive it around town, the fat tires make it even a nicer ride, you know? So if you want just something that's smooth and easy to go to the grocery store, I mean, this bike will do that too. It's probably a little bit expensive for that. Remember, again, this bike starts at $7,200. It is an expensive electric bike, but you know, quality comes at a cost, and for this one it's $7,200, $7,200. So look awesome, peeps. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did not win the giveaway, do not worry, we'll have more giveaways coming up for you soon. Stay healthy out there, stay well, stay distanced, wash your hands, and yeah, I hope you guys are having an awesome day. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.